vocabulary for the article Juvenile Justice that you guys are about to read. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and write down these words. You can put them in your Google Notes, you can put them in a Google Doc, you can put them on a sheet of paper. However you want to keep track of your vocabulary is fine, it's up to you. This is supposed to help you guys. So you're going to write down the words or copy and paste the words from Echo, and then just kind of follow along with me. I'm going to tell you what these words mean. I'm also going to tell you what I picture whenever I hear these words. So my first word is immersed. So if you are immersed in something, you're surrounded by something, you're deeply involved in it. So I might think about being immersed in a swimming pool. I'm surrounded by water, so my picture is like me in a pool, being immersed in that pool. The next word is extensive. If something is extensive, it's going to affect a large group of people. Rehabilitation. When you think of the word rehabilitation, a lot of us think about like drug and alcohol rehab. But there's also physical rehabilitation after having a surgery. Rehabilitation just means that I'm restoring someone to a healthier version of themselves. Or maybe I'm restoring a piece of furniture that is all beat up and stained. And I'm stripping it down and sanding it and I'm restaining it, right? So rehabilitation just means restoring something to a healthier version of itself. So you can picture drug and alcohol rehab if that's what works for you, if that is what comes to mind. You can also picture restoring a piece of furniture or restoring an old house, maybe restoring an old car. For the article, they're going to be talking about rehabilitation when it's in context with like behaviors. Rehabilitating criminals. So helping them figure out a way to live their lives outside of jail without having to commit crimes. Philosophy. Guys, philosophy is a gigantic word, but for the purposes of this assignment, I just need you to think of it as a way of thinking. Your philosophy on life is how you kind of see the world and how you think about the world. Systematically. If something is done systematically, it means it is done according to a fixed plan. So if you are going to systematically fight racism, it means that you're actually going to set a plan in motion. You're going to figure out like how you're going to do that. It's not something that you just improv, okay? So systematically means something that is being done according to a plan. Restitution. Some of you guys may know this word, some of you may not. Restitution means paying back for losses, right? So whenever I think of restitution, I might think of the court system asking someone to pay restitution after they broke into someone's car, right? So that's kind of what I'm picturing. Mandatory means you have no choice. So if something is mandatory, it means that you have to do it. So a lot of times whenever I think of mandatory, again, I'm thinking of like court orders when the judge says you have mandatory school attendance. Unconstitutional. Something that's unconstitutional is something that is in some way, shape, or form violating your constitutional rights, right? So we have the right for freedom of speech. So if somebody tried to stop you from peacefully sharing your thoughts, that could be considered unconstitutional. Adults have the right to bear arms. And that's one of the reasons why like there are so many arguments about gun control. Is gun control unconstitutional? Does it violate somebody's constitutional rights? Impulsive is the next one, and when I picture the word impulsive, I honestly picture a lot of my students' faces. If somebody is impulsive, it means that they act without thinking things through. They don't consider their consequences. It's just like, I had this thought that I want to grab a marker, so I just grabbed this marker. Like I didn't think about any consequences. That's kind of a bad example, but another example could be there's an entire pan of homemade brownies, and like the impulsive part of me wants to just eat the entire like pan without thinking about the consequences of having to go buy new pans. The next word is culpability. If you are culpable of something, it means that you are responsible for the crime or for the wrongful act. It is a very, very legal term. So if you hear culpable or culpability, it's usually going to be in court or it's going to be with attorneys or police, and it just means that they're blaming you for the crime. Like you are being held responsible for it. You're culpable. So when I think of culpable, I kind of picture being taken away in handcuffs. That's like my image in my mind. Acknowledge. If I acknowledge something, I'm giving something or someone credit. So if I just acknowledging somebody is there, like I'm giving them credit for being here. If I acknowledge that you tried really hard on your assignment, I might tell you, like, hey, Scott, you did a really great job on this. I'm acknowledging your hard work and your effort. Prohibited. If something's prohibited, it means it's not allowed. So I think back to like the prohibition when alcohol wasn't allowed, or even just school rules. Alcohol, guns, tobacco products, all of those things are prohibited on a school campus. They're not allowed. So when I think of prohibition or prohibited, I think of that red circle with a line through it, like, not happening, not here. Leniency. The word leniency means being merciful. And guys, sometimes it's good to be lenient, sometimes it's good to be merciful, and sometimes showing leniency can bite you in the butt. The leniency just means being merciful, giving somebody a second chance. So I picture being in court and Judge Zerker telling somebody, okay, you really shouldn't have done this. I'm going to give you one more chance, but the next time you come in here, if you've done X, Y, or Z, you're getting 90 days in jail. She showed leniency on this crime, but she's letting you know if you commit another crime, she's going to hit you with the 90 days. Advocates. Someone who is an advocate is someone who fights for a cause or for a person. So if you're advocating for something, it's something that you're standing up for something that you believe in. So I picture CASA advocates. They're court-appointed special advocates, and they worked really close with DHS when I used to work in foster care. And they would come to court and they would stand up on the kid's behalf and advocate for that child, and make sure they were standing up for that child and that somebody gave that child a voice. So those are your vocab words. Once you're done with your vocab words, we're going to go ahead and move along into the article, juvenile justice.